For this video, I'll be telling you a story of a man that was nearly forgotten during World War II. I, however, think his story is one worth remembering. Unlike many stories, we're not going to start at the beginning. We're actually going to start where it all ended. This is an abridged version taken directly from the flight log of our pilot, and I'll be reading it to you. They called me the White Ghost, but it was a name with fault. Ghosts, after all, cannot be seen, cannot be felt, and cannot be shot. I, however, had just been hit. It wasn't a fatal blow, but it now took everything I had to keep the plane in the air. This was my plane, and I was not going to be killed because I wasn't competent enough to keep my plane above the open sea. I continued in my dogfight with another pilot I had been trying to hit. His skill was better than I had seen in any other man during this war, and that scared me. I didn't know firsthand, but he reminded me of the old stories about the Red Baron that flew for the Germans, or even Eddie Rickenbacker that flew for the great nation of America. I was flying in a damaged plane above a rocky coastline, and I began to sweat. I don't mean a slight glisten on the skin. It was a cold sweat, born of fear. My mouth began to taste like copper and sulfur. Out of nowhere, another bullet hit my right wing. It was smoking at this point, and I knew I didn't have much time. I had to land the plane, but there was no air in this harsh environment. I turned the plane north, and I began looking for a place to land when another bullet hit me, this time damaging my engine. I cursed at this bad luck and laughed at myself. It was cold and manic, but I laughed because the luck I've had for years had finally caught up with me. I knew I couldn't pull my parachute as it would burn from the engine fire, and I would fall to my death. So I began to make as smooth a descent as possible, but I knew it would not be smooth enough. I began to think of everything that had happened in my life, the times before the war, growing up with my friends and my siblings, getting married. I thought of my wife and her beautiful hair and her caring eyes, and I wished to hold her one last time, but I knew I could not at least till I was still on this earth. In a way, I was relieved. I had lived a good life, at least a life I thought was good, and now my reward was to be with her again, and dream of what she would look like in heaven. As I began to get closer to the ground, I thought of her warm hand in mine, and her loving voice as she said, "I love you." And then I thought of nothing. Somehow I managed to survive the crash, and that is how I'm writing this. My plane hit a small peak and stopped dead, knocking me out. I was badly injured, fatally even. I knew I would not leave this cliff. At least I thought it was a beautiful place to leave this war-torn planet. I'm going now to sit and watch the sunset one last time, and then I will finally become a ghost.